No, I don't think that patterns with us forever. That's a idiosyncrasy of the U.S. market. With our Rule 144, it causes a large amount of selling 180 days later, and also because of the pre-marketing rules in the U.S. But what we're seeing is an increasingly global market where there's better price discovery by involving more international investors, by involving international exchanges. And then the secondary markets means there's not as much selling pressure 180 days out. So I think so. I wouldn't bet that 180-day drop off that we've seen historically is here to stay.
Jeffrey Stewart of GPO Fund, really appreciate your time. Coming up, we'll get a look at what else is making your headlines and your front page news. This is Bloomberg. Taking a look at S&P futures right now, we're looking at a gain of 1/3 of 1%. The dollar right now down 0.2, and the 10-year yield at 4.36. Coming up, Terry Wiseman and Macquarie on how markets are assessing Trump. It is 5:30 a.m. in New York City and 10:30 a.m. in London. Good morning. I'm Matt Miller in for Vonnie Quinn. This is your Bloomberg Brief. Let's get you set up for the day. Stock futures rise and oil comes down as U.S. allies work towards a ceasefire deal with Iran. That's as President Trump's latest delayed deadline looms for Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And all of that comes ahead of a week full of economic data, including the first read on Trump war inflation. In terms of what we're looking at right now, in terms of the actual numbers this morning, you'll see S&P futures up about 1/3 of 1%. We closed up just a bit on Friday as well in the cash trade. NASDAQ futures and Russell 2000 futures gaining twice what we're looking at on the big benchmark. In terms of Brent, we are coming down, but still at relatively high levels. These are the treasury picture right now: 385 on the 2-year, 435 on the 10, and 492 on the 30-year. Take a look at oil here. NYMEX trading down 2% almost to 109.62. Brent at 107.20. These are different contracts. Brent's the forward contract is the June contract right now, and NYMEX is the May contract. So that's why they're relatively close. And you see WTI a little bit higher. Gold up about 0.5% right now, $4,700 a troy ounce. For some of the stocks that we're watching this morning, let's get over to Natalia Knijevich. Natalia, what are you looking at?
I'm at Tyson Food shares are up by almost 1.8% in pre-market. It came after Piper Sandler analysts upgraded the stock to overweight from neutral. So they see some near-term catalysts coming from beef and chicken. They also said that this business is kind of insulated from GLP-1 trends. And this new price target implies a 16% move up from the latest closing price. Now let's move to another stock. We look at shares of Solena Therapeutics, the biotech company. Shares are up by almost 30% in pre-market. It came after Financial Times reported that another biotech company is trying to buy Solena or Neurocrine, which would value Solena at about $2.5 billion. And then finally, Micron and SanDisk. We look at those shares that are moving higher today. Mizuho analysts are saying that they are buyers right now. And they also said that those concerns about memory stocks are already overblown and kind of behind us, Matt.
All right, Natalia, thanks very much for that look at stocks. Now, Terry Wiseman at Macquarie weighing in on the market reaction from the Iran war as it enters its 6th week. Trump's rhetorical gymnastics are seen increasingly as part of an effort to manage Iran's expectations and traders' expectations simultaneously. He joins us now, Terry Wiseman, global FX and rate strategist. So these tweets, these Truth Social posts that seem increasingly unhinged, and I don't want to editorialize, but he started using the F word, and he started saying praise be to Allah. You think that's part of the strategy?
I think it could be part of a strategy. I think there was an American senator who said that the first casualty of war is truth. Interestingly, the word truth is in that comment, and of course, President Trump's platform is called Truth Social. I don't think there's too much of a coincidence there. He's trying to convey the truth, or at least he wants the people to believe that what he's saying is true. What he's saying may not be true, of course.
Given our experience with him.
Absolutely, but more importantly, it's not because I think he's necessarily lying, but he may simply want to intentionally mislead. The idea being, of course, that if you convey to your enemy at a time of war that you're unpredictable, that you're kind of crazy, it actually may work to your advantage.
I don't think he needs to convince anybody of that.
I think let's put it this way. I think he needs to remind them of that. And I think this is the purpose of some of these tweets. If you believe that you're facing a madman, you're much more likely to be inclined to give in to his demands. I can't rule that out as a strategy of war, effectively.
So we've heard this previously. It's the crazy Ivan theory that Scott Bessent has touted. What though do traders fall back on in terms of the objectives of this war? I mean, he's said that he doesn't care if the Strait of Hormuz is reopened, and lately he's said that if this
take off half position, just ride the rest.
Right. So the president is trying to manage reactions in this.
ES was above VWAP, above value.
And what they want to do.
That's why
market
this
trying to manage the allies or purported out.
get more bang for the here.
Try to say, ask yourself, who is he directing
Hold this.
that comment towards?
Guarantee ourselves break even here. We've already taken half profit on the position.
He is a
Cannot lose.
Look, if you don't do this, this, and that.
Got some break evens this morning, but
when he says, "I don't care about the Strait of Hormuz,"
some profits now.
allies, basically telling him, "Look, I'm not going to
Targeting
do anything.
POC
I want you to do something instead."
should be
And
good
then there's
for
other
me.
instances, of course, where he's managing the market by reducing the intensity of the rhetoric, reducing the flames. So I think in every single one of these comments, you have to ask,
This is the trade of the day because
the problem with trying to
missed the
what he's
first one
saying
here would have been
that
nice
the
400 ticks.
He is not addressing the same party in each instance, and those parties are
VWAP.
motivated by different things. It's a very difficult task for
Uh,
him to try to manage all three simultaneously, I might imagine.
400
It
ticks
still
there.
seem to be in the benefit of doubt in terms of treasuries, in terms of the strength of the dollar. I mean,
40.8.
part of the
Already hit
petrodollar that
POC.
provide security
POC.
and keep the Strait of
That's our
Hormuz
trade.
open in order for oil to be priced in dollars. I mean, that's how come we are the global reserve currency. That doesn't seem to
nice-
change anytime.
I agree with that.
Couple break evens and then
Reassert,
a nice 2% gain there.
more to the securing
POC.
trade supply lines around the world, especially the ones that are.
Yes is
That's been an important role
up near the standard deviation.
inserted to the U.S. to at least continue to
3-point
be
standard
a
deviation.
of perception that it is
I mean,
defender of the global order.
could keep going up here.
Stay strong, because as you seem to have suggested, there is an implicit agreement between the U.S. and the rest of the world. We will protect you, but you buy our dollar.
Standard deviation. Swing level here would have been a nice swing down to over 100. That's like 120 point trade to the downside. That would have been nice.
It stands to reason that other countries may renege on there.
When it comes to the assets affected, I mean, oil has to be the one you're watching most closely, as we all are. What do you think about, $110 barrels of oil? How much longer can we tolerate this price level? Is this price level okay? I mean, the administration seems to suggest it's all right as long as it doesn't get to 150.
Yeah, of course, to some extent, there were cargoes that were already seaborne at the time that the war began. They may not even have reached their destination yet. So there's been some buffer with regard to what has been floating, what has been in inventory. But if the Strait of Hormuz continues to be shut, there's no reason why we couldn't see oil well above $120 per barrel and potentially up to 150. The good news, of course, is that Iran has been letting some cargoes through in recent days, and that has taken the pressure down a little bit. In addition to the news about the prospects that there are peace negotiations taking place, and we may see some sort of ceasefire agreement, the other thing to consider is that some oil is starting to come out.
What do you think about markets here? I mean, we really haven't taken much of a hit. I'm looking at futures over 6,600. We closed over 6,500 on the S&P Friday, and it's not just the war, right? We've had so many issues. I mean, AI may eat everybody's lunch and still we're only down 4%.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about the broader market, of course, there are some good news stories out there. And I would put AI as a story that's actually good for the market. It's not necessarily good for other sectors of the economy or other agents in the economy. With regard to why the market hasn't fallen as much as one might presume it would have in view of this war, I think you have to credit to some extent President Trump in his ability, again, to address all three parties simultaneously. That message may not be working with Iran. It may not be working with the allies. But optically, it seems to be working to some extent with the market when he seemed to suggest that this war is not going to be a long war. The markets have believed that effectively until now.
All right, Terry, great having you
My
on.
pleasure.
Stay with us. Thanks so much for joining up. Terry Wiseman there of Macquarie Group. Let's get to your other top stories trending on the terminal this morning. Hedge funds have turned bullish on wheat for the first time in 4 years. Long positions on Chicago wheat outnumbered short contracts by over 8,500 in the last week of March. Hedge funds are betting on higher prices due to dry weather and fertilizer shortages. The Trump administration has asked satellite imagery providers to voluntarily withhold images of designated areas due to Trump's war in the Middle East. This has prompted San Francisco-based commercial satellite provider Planet Labs to restrict access to data from the region. The development underscores the growing strategic role of commercial satellite operators in modern conflicts. And President Trump has endorsed former Fox News host Steve Hilton to be the next governor of California. Trump's endorsement deals a blow to the other leading GOP contender in the race. Hilton has made inroads with prominent donors such as Rupert Murdoch and golfer Phil Mickelson. Coming up, President Trump set to speak this afternoon as allies press for a ceasefire deal. More on that next. This is Bloomberg.
When I moved to New York City from India, the only dream which I had was to be a physician. But when I arrived here, I felt there was something missing. So that's when I started working on Wall Street, covering pharmaceutical stocks. I wanted to learn business skills to expand my impact in medicine. Then I moved to Silicon Valley and founded Unicisive. Finding my own path opened up opportunities, help people that I couldn't have imagined.
It's every municipal bond investor's dream. Bright shining city on a hill, a place where there won't be any economic, financial, or political problems. So you never worry about getting your principal and interest paid on time. But what if the city you've chosen doesn't live up to that dream? That's why investors turn to Assure Guarantee. We have a long history, a proven track record, and a wealth of financial resources. So if something does go wrong, we'll make it right. Assure Guarantee, a stronger bond.
This is Bloomberg Brief. I'm Matt Miller in New York. Over the weekend, President Trump extending his deadline yet again for opening up the Strait of Hormuz with two 48-hour deadlines, one on Saturday, another one seemingly on Sunday. This comes as Israel and the U.S. carried out a wave of attacks on Iran overnight, killing more than 25 people. So to be clear, we had a deadline of what would have been 10:05 a.m. this morning. That superseded a deadline that was supposed to be for 8 p.m. tonight. And now it seems like he set a deadline for 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Joining us now is Bloomberg's DC breaking news team leader, Kasia Klimasinska. Kasia, it's very difficult to keep these things straight, but as our last guest surmised, perhaps that is the point. President Trump trying to convince the Iranians that he's slightly unstable. How is Washington reacting to this? It's very difficult.
Hello, I think you're exactly right. We have those changing deadlines, but the good news here is that, of course, it gives both sides more time to negotiate. And I think that it's also a bit of a relief for the market, as we saw the U.S. equity futures are still up a little bit. That always, another 24 or so hours without another major escalation. Because when we go back and look at those threats, President Trump said again over the weekend that if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. will attack power plant and region. So that would be a major escalation, assuming that, of course, Iran would retaliate. So, the more we don't see it yet, the better news that is, even as it's unclear what exactly are the negotiations between whom and whether they will yield any results. But over the weekend, of course, there were also several voices coming, especially from Democrats here in Washington, criticizing President Trump for what looks like a lack of strategy and urging him to de-escalation, to tone down the rhetoric. Obviously, Trump did the exact opposite, and he will speak again today. He will talk at 1 p.m. I expect him to come back to his victory rhetoric, praising U.S. military, and again coming.
Great.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day. Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Well, I'm John Tucker, the Bloomberg Newsroom with this Bloomberg Business app. Let's start with Brent crude, slightly lower right now, down 12 cents a barrel, 108.99 right now. Now, the major stock average is modestly higher with lower oil for now. Energy is the worst performing major industry group in the S&P 500. We did have that economic data, the U.S. service economy expanding in March at a slower pace. Employment shrank by the most since 2023. Input prices, they accelerated sharply. This is the ISM gauge of prices paid for services and materials, jumping to 70.7. What that means is the highest since October of 2022. I did want to bring this headline to you in the prediction markets, the betting markets, prediction markets. Kalshi, beating New Jersey's appeal regulating the prediction markets. So New Jersey can't enforce, at least for now, the state law against Kalshi. Dan Ives at Wedbush Securities says, with the Iran war, investors should be focused on the longer term.
This will pass. And when it passes, tech stocks, I continue to believe that's where you want to be positioned, especially in some of these sell-offs that we've seen.
Right now, the S&P 500, 20 points higher, 6602 on the index. The Dow up 130.